Welcome to Thank You Day number 3. I had something else I was going to do for today, but I decided that after watching Heath's that I would instead do something that I'd been thinking about but hadn't really decided whether I was going to do it or not. So this thank you is going to thank a person whose name I don't know. I've always considered my encounter with this person the day that I was touched by an angel, and I'll tell you why. This took place back in the middle 1980s, probably 1985 or something like that. Paul was doing a show in San Francisco, but he was too young to drive, so I was driving him back and forth. And there had been a Sunday matinee. We went to the matinee, and we were driving home. It must have been the fall because it was dark. And there's a long stretch along Highway I-80 where there's just nothing. There's more now than there was then. There's not very much there now. Busy highway, but no houses, no shops, no nothing. And we had just gone under an underpass, and we had a flat tire. So I pulled off to the side of the road. It had been raining, and it was still kind of sprinkling. I'd never changed a tire before, but I decided I had seen it done enough, and this was the days before cell phones, so there was no way that I could call anybody, and there was no telephone. I think the nearest telephone was about 10 miles away. So I got out the jack and I started to jack the car up, but because it had been raining, the ground was soft and the car slipped off the jack. So here I am in the middle of nowhere at night with a kid. It's raining and I have no way to contact anybody, and the nearest phone is 10 miles away. So I decided, well, no problem, we'll just wait until a highway patrolman came. So we waited for half an hour and no highway patrolman showed up. Finally, I found a flashlight, and I had Paul stand out on the highway and wave a white flag. Well, I have since driven along the highway and thought about that. You're going so fast when you're on a major freeway that by the time it registers in your brain that there's somebody there who's in trouble, you're already way past them. So nobody stopped. And I was very discouraging, and I didn't know what we were going to do. At that time, I didn't realize that the nearest phone was 10 miles away. I was hoping that maybe there was another phone like, a mile away. So we were going to start walking along the edge of the highway when all of a sudden I see a car coming in the other direction who got off on the side road and pulled way off around on this deserted road across a big field full of very tall grass. So Paul went racing off after this car. Well, it turned out the car had seen us and had gone to the next exit and had come back. And there was a guy in the car who had a German accent. And what I wanted was to have him go call somebody, to give him our home phone number and have him call Walt to come and get us. But he insisted on driving us. So I go traipsing off through this field, this wet grass. And let me tell you, one of the scariest things I did was to get into a car with a total stranger in the pitch black of night and not have a clue where I was going, who he was, but there didn't seem to be any other choice. So then I asked him to take us to the next exit. Well, the next exit just had a closed fruit stand and a telephone stand, not even a booth, a stand. And he said no, he was going to take us to the next exit where there was a restaurant and we could wait inside. So we get to the restaurant and he asked me if I had any money, and I didn't. So he handed me $10 and asked me to buy Paul a hamburger. And I asked him for his address so that I could return the money to him, and he said no, he didn't want anything. So I decided I'd be really smart and I would take down his license plate number when he left so I could find out who he was. And as he drove off, he didn't have a license plate. So I ended up getting Paul something to eat. I called Walt, who was at a party and didn't even know that we were missing all this time. He came and got us. But this guy appeared out of nowhere. He was a real angel to me. There was no way of tracing him. Probably wasn't really an angel, but who knows, maybe he was. But he really took, I took the message from that to thank him by doing something kind for somebody else at some point. He was an older man. I somehow suspect he's no longer here, but if he is, if he's watching this, thank you very much for being very kind to a stranger who was in trouble on a dark road.